Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking out the Tier 8 Pan-Asian Destroyer. We're finally moving on from this destroyer, which I'm definitely looking forward to, the Hsien Yang, and we are currently playing on Trap Plane Domination, and we are bottom tier, which is always so fun to see. As you can see on the friendly team, we have 3 Yamatos, Missouri, Bismarck, thank you past self for honking the horn, Des Moines, Hindenburg, Baltimore, Hipper, Gearing, Kagero, and Hsien Yang. And on the enemy team, there is a Montana, 2 Yamatos, Lion, Bismarck, Des Moines, Hindenburg, St. Louis, Donskoy, Shimakaze, Kid, and a Harikaze. And we are gonna try our very best, especially pushing into the C cap. Now, obviously, there are 2 raiders on the enemy team, and this might be a little bit interesting, but let's talk about the ship. The ship, for the most part, is fully upgraded. The only thing I haven't gone for is the range. Once again, the Hsien Yang is very similar. Actually, not very similar. It is essentially the Benson with the sea hole. So you have 4 guns instead of 5. And if you play the Benson, you should kind of fully understand what you're getting yourself into. Hsien Yang, good gunboat. That's probably her nice thing about her. She has good detect, 5.8 kilometers. Torpedoes, once fully upgraded, can get out to 9.2. But keep in mind, when you upgrade these torpedoes, it costs you quite a bit. Increases the reload time, increases the damage, which is definitely beneficial, but it also decreases the speed of the torpedoes. The torpedoes can only go 55 knots. They're very slow torpedoes. I would almost say they're fairly similar to the Montanas, or not Montanas, the Sems. Good lord, have a slightly dyslexic moment there. But if you're accustomed to the Sims torpedoes, you should kind of understand how these torpedoes work, and as per usual, these are deep water torpedoes, which does mean that destroyers can't get damaged by them. And that's probably my main complaint with the Pan-Asian, is you really have to rely on your guns. You don't have that ace in your slot card. You don't have that ace in the whole ability to completely destroy enemy destroyers with torpedoes. You have to rely on guns. You have to rely on your friendly team helping to spot them, especially if you do decide to pop smoke, which once again, the smoke on the Hsien Yang is really good. It's a really good ability and very strong. You usually, for the most part, can get around 10 seconds between each puff of smoke, and if you do run Superintendent, you do have 6 charges of smoke, so very strong as far as its ability to pop smoke and stay hidden. Now, this Hsien Yang does have the ability of getting radar, and as I did talk about when we first got the ship, the radar is very short range, only 7.5 kilometers, and short duration, only 15 seconds, which does mean it is going to have a little bit difficulty to really doing a significant amount of damage against enemy destroyers and smoke screens, but at least you could spot them. Now, there is the enemy Shimakaze. I was trying to find out what destroyer was over here. We do know that the Kid is over at B, and unfortunately, we are making ourselves a target, and there is a Donskoy, and the Donskoy is one ship I really don't want to deal with. It does have a long-range radar, and we are obviously being targeted or spotted by the Kid. And can we at least slip in our smoke screen? It looks like the Shimakaze did drop his own torpedoes, which, once again, Shimakaze and its ability to actually lay down torpedoes against the enemy destroyers is very potent. Pan-Asian, definitely much more of an issue. Now, that smoke screen is only a defensive smoke screen. The major downside was if anyone was behind me, and fortunately for us, we only have 1 ship behind us, so you can definitely see that C-cap is probably not going to be under our control for very long, but there is obviously the Donskoy. Now, the torpedoes do have a decent range, And that is the benefit of upgrading it. It does have a 9.2 kilometer range, but once again, they're not very, very fast. So I would almost say running the 8-kilometer torpedoes, granted they don't do as much damage, probably will be a little bit more beneficial because they're more likely to hit at a much longer range. Now I am taking cover as quickly as I can behind this island, waiting for this Donskoi's radar to go down. There it goes, finally goes down. Kid is shooting at us, but fortunately he is not really hitting us. But there's still a Shimikaze around. More than likely, he's probably gonna spot us. Yep, there's the enemy Shimikaze. Now, at the beginning of this battle, it's definitely not going to be in our favor. We do have 2 enemy destroyers very close to us, and we still have a significant proportions of battleships against still at the A cap or C cap, mind you. But our team is winning. Granted, we don't have 2 caps. The enemy team does have those 2 caps, but we are ahead in ships and we are ahead in points. Now, the Donskoi did pop his radar, which does mean I do have a little bit of time to get out of here. I think it's actually a really good time to run, just due to the fact that I have no support. There's no support for this side, and that's something with the Hsien Yang that I just find kind of lackluster, is the fact that she can't really deal with destroyers. Not saying that she can't. Her guns definitely are very nice, very potent. They're very quick reloading. But considering the guns are the only ability you can really deal with destroyers, there's not much you can do. And yeah, having 2 tier 10 battleships over here as well, definitely don't want to deal with that. But we're going to try to drop our torpedoes again. And once again, I'm going to try to get this island between myself and them, because the sea is essentially lost, but we'll see how things progress. It's definitely going to get a little bit better. Now the Baltimore is starting to push up towards sea, and this is actually a very interesting choice, because keep in mind there is a Montana and Yamato both over at sea. Donskoi possibly might be pushing in towards the B cap. Don't know at this moment. More than likely we are still within his radar, so hopefully we can try to get in B. That's what I'm hoping right now, try to get in B. But there's the radar, and since we are to the enemy team what looks like to be pushing towards the B cap, I might try to use this to my advantage, because keep in mind there are still 2 battleships over at sea, and since they do own B and C, they might push south, and that's actually something I would completely disagree with. I would actually rather recommend that they just maintain control of the B and C cap. But there is a cyclone inbound, which is going to limit the spotting range of enemy ships, so that might be beneficial. We'll see. Alright, so for the most part, I've talked a lot about how her guns operate, her torpedoes. As far as the ship itself, as far as how she handles, very nimble. Once again, very similar to the Benson class. But her armor, I just find it lackluster. Maybe I'm just accustomed to high tiers, but I find it that she tends to eat HE quite readily. And yes, I know it's a destroyer. But at times, it's just, even against from other destroyers, it just seems quite extravagant, but at the exact same time her guns feel kind of lackluster. Sometimes you get those nice big hits, and other times the shells just go every which way. I don't know, I have a mixed feeling, but we'll see how her torpedoes goes. Now keep in mind we haven't had that much luck with torpedoes. I fired, I believe, at least 2 salvos. Haven't had that much luck, but we do know there's Montana coming this way. And unfortunately for our Baltimore, has just paid the price of pushing back towards the sea cap. Now this Montana has to be aware that there is a enemy destroyer around. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. There has to be a destroyer around. And it looks like he is starting to push towards the B side, possibly trying to hopefully catch any battleships traversing into B. But torpedoes are ready, and once again these torpedoes do travel slow. So you do have to provide a lot of lead, and more than likely with slow torpedoes, they're more likely to miss just due to the fact that the enemy ship has more time to anticipate them. And it does look like the Montana is slowing up. Now I am getting as close as I can to ensure that my torpedoes have a much more likely chance of successfully hitting. But it does look like a Hindenburg has popped up and has brought the attention of the Montana. But we'll see how these torpedoes go. Hopefully we can actually get a good hit. Now the torpedoes are decent damage. They do damage, I think, around 15,000 points of damage. So they do pretty substantial amount of damage. And this Montana, unfortunately, has slowed up, turned in, and is now eating at least 6 torpedoes. And look at that, very low in health. I'm going to go ahead and pop my own smoke screen and go ahead and open up with my own guns. Now, one actually nice little trick with the ship when you're popping smokescreen and you're in a destroyer, if you pop your engine boost, that will actually allow you to slow down a lot quicker than you normally would. So use that to your advantage whenever possible. If you do have it, pop it. Just makes it a lot easier to get in smokescreen. And there we go, kill number 1 for us. Took out the enemy in Montana, and that definitely has brought us a lot of points of damage, 70,000. And I will have to say, the Montana captain was very honorable about this. I love what he says in chat. That just cracked me off. But very nice. And what made me happy about this battle was the fact that in the previous battle, I was against iChase and a few of his clanmates in Haberashk. And yeah, coming from that was not particularly fun, but I did the very best I could do in a Hsien Yang against tier 10 Russian destroyers. So not bad battle anyways. So at the moment our team is definitely well ahead in ships. Currently dealing with, I think it is the Hakaym over in B at this point. But they should be able to take him out. There we go. Took out the enemy Shimikaze. And this Yamato has to be aware that there is a Hsien Yang still around. Now, I do drop torpedoes in anticipation of where he's going to be. Now, this is a good trick to do, but you do have to keep in mind it's fairly plausible that this battleship will probably pull away, but we were fairly close, 6.2 kilometers, and that's the nice thing about the Hsien Yang is she does have a 5.8 kilometer detect, so you can get fairly close and you drop your torpedoes. Now, once again, the unupgraded torpedoes would hit a little bit faster and probably a little bit more reliably, but unfortunately for this Yamato, who did see his friendly Montana captain go down, is now going to eat some torpedoes. Ooh, nice big hit there. Now the Yamato does have a good torpedo belt, so that has probably reduced a significant chunk of damage, as well as taking no floods. I don't think he took any floods from that. And unfortunately for us, the Yamato is now out of detect. I'm gonna try to get back in there, but that definitely brought up our damage quite a bit. We're at 141,000, which is actually superbly nice. But there's still a Hindenburg around, so I do have to be careful about them. Definitely don't want to deal with a Hindenburg. So, thoughts on the Hsien Yang? It's just, yeah, you can have those nice big hits like that. Torpedoes are good damaging, albeit a little bit slow, but your major issue would be the fact that she does have trouble against other destroyers, which is just highly unfortunate. So I do go ahead and pop smoke screen, and I am going to try to assist with this Hindenburg, but you can see with these much smaller caliber guns, and yes, they do reload very quickly, they just, yeah, they feel lackluster. Now the fire chance is good. I should mention the fire chance for the Hsien Yang is actually really nice. They do have a 9% fire chance, and you can definitely, I believe this is buffed up with the flags and everything, so you can get a good fire chance with the guns. Now, unfortunately for us, that Yamato did go down, and so we're not able to get the kill, but maybe we can at least assist with the Hindenburg. Does look like he did drop torpedoes, but unfortunately for us, we're just not going to be able to get this kill. He is burning quite heavily, and probably is going to go down to the Yamato, and unfortunately, that is actually going to be it for this battle. So not a bad game. Got some good hits on enemy battleships. But anyway, we're going to go ahead, take a look at the victory screen. So our team earned a victory. We brought home 277,881 silver, 9,738 XP, and 731 free XP. We did 150,948 points of damage, 66 shell hits, 13 torpedo hits, 1 kill, 1 fire, and 6 floods. We were second on the team with a base XP of 1,813. Yamato Captain did a really fantastic job, so good job for him. As far as damage, you can see the majority of our damage came from both the Montana and the Yamato Captain. And we almost nearly took out that Yamato. I think we probably, had I let him just a little bit more, probably would have completely annihilated the enemy Yamato. But that was so close to doing. Torpedoes did 130,224 points of damage. HE, we only did around 15,000, and floodings, we only got around 3,000. So, not a bad battle. Good, decent amount of damage, and with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into the port. So, I will see you guys there. Alright, everyone, welcome back to the port, and Hsien Yang it's hit and miss for me. Sometimes I have amazing games, as you just saw there, and other times it's more of being an actual doing the destroyer job of capping and ensuring you stay alive. But I have to say, it's not a bad ship. It has its really good qualities. Torpedoes are really nice against cruisers and battleships. But my main issue really comes down to how it reacts to other enemy destroyers. I find it kind of lackluster when it's combating against enemy destroyers at times, but that's just kind of my opinion. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. Survivability, you have a hit points of 15,500, which, I mean, it's not bad. It's good, middle of the road. Could be a little bit better, but at times it's just kind of lackluster. Akazuki has very similar armor, but it has 20,400, and I believe on my Akazuki I don't have the survivability expert, so health pool is not the greatest, but obviously the Akazuki is more of a gunboat and does have a little bit more health compared to the Hsien Yang. At times it can be aggravating because it just doesn't feel like you're able to really survive for very long, especially in destroyer battles, dogfights, close quarter combat with other destroyers, and that I think really comes down to the guns. Guns, just to me, as from what I felt, kind of feel lackluster. Maybe it's just because I don't play tier 8 very much. They do have a nice reload, and you do have 4 of them. They are, once again, very similar to the Benson Seahull. They have a reload time of 3.3 seconds. Turn times is 5.3 seconds, so very quick to get turned around. Max dispersion at a range of 11.4 kilometers is 93 meters. You do have decent damage, 1800 for max HE damage, with a 5% fire chance, which is not bad. It's very similar to the USN destroyers. Max AP damage is 2,100. Close range, yes, your AP works really well, and against other certain destroyers, your AP works pretty decent. Once again, firing range is 11.4. Velocity on the shell is 792 meters per second. Once again, if you're accustomed to the Benson, you'll be accustomed to how these guns work and how much lead you do have to give to an enemy ship, just to ensure that you actually land them. So, I don't know. To me, just the guns seem kind of lackluster, but maybe it's just me. Then you do have 2 quintuple 533mm torpedo tubes. They have a reload time of 109.8 seconds. A little bit long, I will have to fully admit. They do have a 9.2 kilometer range. They do 16,633, and they do have a 55 knot. These are obviously the upgraded torpedoes, and they do decent damage against obviously cruisers, battleships, and carriers. But once again, sometimes your torpedoes would be nice if you could actually hit enemy destroyers. That's kind of what aggravates me about them. Now, you could and easily run just the standard stock torpedoes. They have a 8-kilometer range. They go about 65, 64 knots, something like that. Might be even 62, but a little bit faster. They are shorter range. You only have an 8-kilometer range, but honestly, at times I almost feel like the stock torpedoes are a little bit better than the upgraded. Have kind of messed with both. I kind of like the stock torpedoes more than anything else. AA guns, you do have 6 single 20 millimeters. They do an average damage of 22 with the 2-kilometer range. Then you have 2 quadruple 40 millimeters. Average damage is 32 with 3.5-kilometer range. And then your main guns offer additional AA. Average damage is 43 with a 5-kilometer range. Moving on to maneuverability. Max speed on the Hsien Yang is not bad, 37.5 knots. With the engine boost, you can get up around 41, 42 knots. So fairly decent. And this is a nice thing about the Hsien Yang. For it being so slim and having a good rudder shift time of 3.5 seconds, it is nimble. You can easily dodge shots if you do take the time. And that is very beneficial because you really don't want to get hit with the ship. So very nimble. That's one of the good qualities of it being the essentially Benson. It's very hard to hit if you maneuver quite rapidly and radically. So definitely like the maneuverability. Turning circle radius is tight, 570 meters, so not too bad. Concealment's pretty decent, 5.8 kilometers. I believe it is either similar to the Benson or a little bit less than the Benson. But you do have some manner of low detection, which is extremely beneficial. Then you have detectability range by air as 2.9 and fire from smoke at 2.7 kilometers. Moving on to the upgrades. As you can see, I have actually technically not fully fitted out the Hsien Yang. I did not go for the range. This does increase your range at 12.5 kilometers. Yes, it's nice to hit something a little bit further away, but with how the shells are, it is a little bit more difficult. Doable, but a little bit more difficult. My major thought on this is the fact that I don't want to be detected at 12.5 kilometers. It's much easier to escape if you have a lower detection, so that's why I did not go for the upgrade. I would highly recommend go for the B-hole. At the very least, get the B-hole. This will reduce your rudder shift time. It will increase your health, as well as give you some additional AA guns, AA defense. So very beneficial. Once again, torpedoes, deep water torpedoes stock, I would say it's doable. The reason why I say this is the reload time's a little bit quicker, yes. Damage is a little bit reduced, but only by 766 points. Speed is 6 knots faster, 61 knots. And yes, the range is a little bit shorter, but you have a good low detect. And with that much higher speed, you're able to more readily hit torpedoes on a unsuspecting target. And the damage decrease is not really that noticeable. So honestly, I would almost say keep the stock, but if you do want to play a little bit more at range, you can get this. Just keep in mind that you do have much slower torpedoes and a little bit longer reload time, but overall not too bad. As I've always mentioned all through my Pan-Asian destroyers, smoke is excellent. You only have about a 10-second window between each puff of smoke, which is really superbly awesome. Man, you're able to jump between smokes every single time. As far as the upgrades, per usual for my destroyers, main arms mod 1, propulsion mod 1, aiming system mod 1, propulsion mod 2, and concealment system mod 1. Fairly standard as far as my destroyers have gone. Now moving on to my captain, he's not full spec 19, but this is what I've kind of geared towards. Especially this captain will be going up to my Hsien Yang. So This is thinking in the future. Priority target. Love the priority target. I'm a big fan of it. Get rid of expert marksman if you have a Gajamada and you move the captain onto this ship. Not necessary. This is completely unnecessary. Your guns rotate too quickly by themselves, so not necessary at all. As usual, last stand, adrenaline rush reduces, increases your reload time for every. Wow, I cannot read apparently. Reduces your reload time for every 1% health points lost. So beneficial, reloads your guns and torpedoes a little bit quicker. Very, very nice. As I did mention, the torpedoes are actually decent, especially once you get up to the Chungmu and the Yuang. Torpedoes are actually really nice, so I've geared towards getting a reload on my torpedoes a little bit quicker. And then concealment expert as usual, and radio location just so I can kind of keep an idea on where enemy destroyers are. Now, you might be wondering why I'm not running Superintendent. Honestly, you have 5 smoke screens already. Granted, they're not very long, but you have 5 of them. And honestly, I can't say too often that I used every single smoke screen. To be perfectly honest, more than likely I usually have at least 1 to 3 charges left of my smoke screen by the end of the battle. That having Superintendent is not necessarily very beneficial, and it could easily be used, your points could be easily used somewhere else, and that's why I opted not to go for Superintendent. But yes, we are saying goodbye to Hsien Yang, and we are moving on. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.